You're muted again.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm speaking to someone off screen.
Oh, I see.
Our kirtan leader will be stepping up to the microphone in just a moment here. Pro.tour. All right.
I hear some sporadic audio. Is that?
Maharaj is in the train.
Oh, okay. Can I record?
You can. I am. You can as well.
Well, I have to be able to.
Oh, just a moment. Okay. Yep. There you go.
So I'm leading kirtan?
Yes, please do.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Paribrajacharya Ashtotar Sata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mayi Ki Jai Jamuna Mayi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Tulsi Priya, for the kirtan. And thank you, Maharaj, for being here. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for Srimad Bhagavatam class with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami and friends. It is Wednesday, January 10th, 2024 in New York. And tonight we're picking up where we left off, which is Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 27th chapter. Kapila Deva is speaking to Devahuti. And tonight we're picking up with text number 9. And we'll see if Maharaj is traveling. He's on a train right now, so in between Salem and Podatur. So we'll see. Hopefully he can be able to participate. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Maharaj has confirmed in the chat window that we are indeed starting with text number 9 tonight. Sanubandhe chadehesmin akurvan asadagraham jnanena drishta tatvena prakrite purushasya cha. One's seeing power should be increased through knowledge of spirit and matter, and one should not unnecessarily identify himself with the body and thus become attracted by bodily relationships. Purport: the conditioned souls are eager to identify with the body and consider that the body is myself, and that anything in relationship with the body or possessions of the body is mine. In Sanskrit, this is called aham mamata, and it is the root cause of all conditional life. A person should see things as the combination of matter and spirit. He should distinguish between the nature of matter and the nature of spirit, and his real identification should be with spirit, not with matter. By this knowledge, one should avoid the false bodily concept of life. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistang Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitangscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In his commentary to these verses, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti bunches texts 9, 10, and 11 all together. So maybe we can look at that just a little bit and try to tease out what's specifically to 9 just now. He did mention earlier that all of these verses 6 through 11 are like a single sentence from Kapila Dev on a single topic of how to separate understanding of spirit from understanding of matter. And here he's talking about the power of seeing, one's seeing power. And when he says seeing power, this is the power of seeing by knowledge, not just the seeing by the eyes, which can be aided by doses of vitamin A. This is a different sort of seeing that a different sort of nutritional supplements are needed to increase specifically hearing and chanting of the Srimad Bhagavatam, because our blunt, gross material senses really only give us part of the whole story of everything we see. He's encouraging us to see things as distinct, the body as matter and the spirit as spiritual. And one should not unnecessarily identify himself with the body. And Prabhupada says that people are very eager to identify with the body and consider that the body is myself. They're very eager to do so. That's the result of the enjoying mentality. If you have that enjoying mentality, if that's your aim, if you're going in that direction, then that eagerness to be able to enjoy through the body is going to be more and more intense, because that's how you enjoy. Or so you think, through the senses. But actual seeing, the kind that Kapila Deva is speaking of here, actual seeing, it means seeing the significance of something or seeing the meaning of something, not just seeing, because light is reflecting off of it. And so what he says here, this knowledge, specifically transcendental knowledge, that reinforces our power of seeing, because depending on how we're trained to see, that's what we'll notice. There's cognition, just the bare data, the information coming into our senses. That's the cognition, but the recognition of understanding what it means, that's another level of seeing. So, for example, a trained geologist, someone who's trained to see mineral deposits or petroleum, and he can look at a piece of land and say, this is there, this is likely to be there, like that. That comes through knowledge and through training. The gross senses are instruments. They enable us to see something, but they don't enable us to see the whole picture. We can see the what, but not the why. We can perceive, some physical properties, but if you think about it, our glasses or our headphones, they don't give us wisdom or knowledge. Real knowledge, depends first of all on the mode of goodness. Outside of the mode of goodness, knowledge can be very, very focused and intense and driven towards sense gratification, as it is in the mode of passion, or it can just be dissolute, spread out, hazy, foggy, sporadic, fuzzy, lazy, drugged out, as it is in the mode of ignorance. But Kapila Dev says here that this idea, this eagerness of wanting to identify with the body and have call these possessions mine, that is the aham mamata, the root cause of all conditional life. And we see how sometimes our relatives are very, very keen to hold on to their other relatives as mine. This is mine. But an intelligent person should see things as the combination of matter and spirit. He should distinguish between the nature of matter and the nature of spirit, which you cannot do unless you have some education in what the nature of spirit is. There's plenty of information out there about the nature of matter. I was just hearing today that they just built some new level of supercomputer they call the Jupiter and the Frontier. And one of these supercomputers is supposed to be able to calculate, it has some vast calculating power, some quintillions of bits. And one of these computers uses as much energy to operate as over 1,000 houses. So they haven't figured out how to put a low carbon footprint into these machines, but what are they calculating? They're just calculating ones and zeros, which is just matter. That's just the material side of things. There's no real wisdom, knowledge, no understanding of the why, and certainly no understanding of spirit. But Kapila Dev is saying here, by this knowledge, the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam, we can avoid the false bodily concept of life. So that's encouraging. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, would you like to make any comments on this verse?
I can try. It's a noisy station. Let's see how we do. Just Prabhupada speaks to the point that you spoke to about our seeing power. In the translation, one's seeing power should be increased through knowledge of spirit and matter. So it's but jnanena tattvena, by knowledge of the truth of spirit and matter. Also, in this verse, asadagraham, which Prabhupada glosses as the bodily concept of life. Literally, it means holding on to that which has no permanence, no reality, nothing good about it. Asadagraham, holding on to that which is unreal. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. I was peeking at Srila Vishwanath's comments on this and the next two verses coming up. But one of the things that he says in the verse itself, he says that he should see, in other words, a person should see all material objects from far away. In other words, disassociate yourself from these things. He should be free of attachments by knowledge consisting of seeing the truth about Prakriti and Purusha. He sees all objects other than the Lord from far away. I thought that would be an interesting exercise.
That comes up in the next verse.
In the next verse, good. Priyanka Mataji says, Srila Prabhupada mentions in Nectar of Instruction that the beginning of spiritual life is with being situated in the mode of goodness. When we are engaged in the mode of goodness, then it is easier to identify the black spots, like it is easy to see the dirt on a white background. On the contrary, the mode of ignorance is already so contaminated, it is difficult to see the reality on an already dirty background. Yes, it reminds me of Prabhupada leading some of his leaders in Mayapur around the grounds early on. And he would say, you are not seeing, but I am seeing, in regard to something that to him was obvious as anything that needed to be cleaned. And he was criticizing them because you're in the mode of ignorance. You think this is just status quo. But yeah, so that's why the mode of goodness is so important, that unless the mode of goodness becomes prominent, then you're likely to, you miss things. You'll miss very clear indications from Krishna within and from without. They'll just go right by you because your modes of nature are not congruent with development of knowledge. Devi's child says, Hare Krishna, but progress in the material dimension also helped in spreading Krishna's messages. Right now, we are able to have this class like this because of the invention of computers, smartphones, and internet, isn't it?
Someone challenged Prabhupada, that some reporter, that if you don't believe in material things, why did you come on an airplane? And Prabhupada said, just so that your airplane won't be completely useless.
Gurudas Prabhu has posted a comment. I'm not sure if it was only meant for me or meant for everyone. Gurudas Prabhu, can you let me know whether that was supposed to be? Oh, okay. So it's supposed to be for everyone. He says that I mentioned how the eyes and the glasses do not bring us real knowledge. The Apples and the Googles, who are racing to provide the world with artificial reality, AR glasses, by which one can calculate, communicate, or bring realistic environments so that it seems one is fully surrounded by a particular environment, such as a tropical jungle, beach, etc., should take note. Hare Krishna. Thank you for that. Any other comments or questions before we move on? I think we can move on.
Davy's child says that he wasn't able to hear Maharaja's response.
Oh, okay.
Prabhupada was challenged by some news reporter that if you're against material things, why did you come on an airplane? And Prabhupada said, just so your airplane won't be completely useless.
Was that clear, Davy's child? Did you pick that up? Thank you, Maharaj, he says. All right. Jai, thank you. So, all right, I think we can move on to text number 10.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
I accidentally sent my comment to someone else. I'll just read it if that's okay.
Please.
Okay. I said Priyanka Mataji's comment reminds me of a story I heard of a woman who was installing a new rug or new countertops in her home, and she chose to use the color white. And a friend said, white will show all the dirt. And the lady said, I want to be able to see all the dirt. That way I can clean it. So in that way, the mode of goodness is allows us to see the dirt as it appears.
Indeed. Thank you, Jai. Would you like to read text number 10?
10? Sure. Let me get- Hold on. Okay. Text 10. Nivrita buddhyavastano duribhutanya darshana upalabhya atmanatmanam chakshushe varkam atmadrik. Translation. One should be situated in the transcendental position beyond the stages of material consciousness and should be aloof from all other conceptions of life. Thus, realizing freedom from false ego, one should see his own self just as he sees the sun in the sky. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Consciousness acts in 3 stages under the material conception of life. When we are awake, consciousness acts in a particular way. When we are asleep, it acts in a different way. And when we are in deep sleep, consciousness acts in still another way. To become Krishna conscious, one has to become transcendental to these 3 stages of consciousness. Our present consciousness should be freed from all perceptions of life other than consciousness of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is called Duri Bhutanya Darshana, which means that when one attains perfect Krishna consciousness, he does not see anything but Krishna. In the Caitanya-caritamrta, it is said that the perfect devotee may see many movable and immovable objects, but in everything he sees that the energy of Krishna is acting. As soon as he remembers the energy of Krishna, he immediately remembers Krishna in his personal form. Therefore, in all his observations, he sees Krishna only. In the Brahma Samhita 538, it is stated that when one's eyes are smeared with the love of Krishna, Premanjana Churita, he always sees Krishna outside and inside. This is confirmed here. One should be freed from all other vision. In that way, he is freed from the false egoistic identification and sees himself as the eternal servitor of the Lord, Chakshushevarkam. As we can see the sun without a doubt, one who is fully developed in Krishna consciousness sees Krishna and his energy. By this vision, one becomes atmadrik, or self-realized. When the false ego of identifying the body with the self is removed, actual vision of life is perceivable. The senses therefore also become purified. Real service of the Lord begins when the senses are purified. One does not have to stop the activities of the senses, but the false ego of identifying with the body has to be removed. Then the senses automatically become purified, and with purified senses, one can actually discharge devotional service. So I'll start at the end here. What caught my ear was the idea of purified senses, because in the material body, we can be practicing Krishna consciousness, and yet there are so many things wrong with the material body, illnesses, tendencies towards bad habits, just so many problems. And so what does it mean that the senses become purified? Because, great devotees, they grow old, they get sick, they leave their bodies, but we say that their senses are purified. And the reason that they're purified is because they're engaging them in the service of the Lord. They're acting purely. And so it's there's the Gyanendriya and the Karmendriya. So when you are engaged in Gyanendriya, you're acting in knowledge, you're performing purified activities, then naturally whatever comes in is also going to be perceived in a pure way, and you see things as they are. But if we identify, it's like the body is an instrument. So, but if we identify with the body, then that's contaminated thinking. And it's not so easy to, you can't really purify your senses without a focus on Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the object of the activities of the senses. You know, we do things for Krishna with our senses, and we gain knowledge of Krishna through our senses. So if that purification isn't there, there's no question of it becoming purified. Otherwise, you can't, there's no sort of state of being pure, really. I mean, you can be in the mode of goodness, but that's not 100% pure. And furthermore, the senses belong to Krishna. So for something to be used properly, it has to be used in the service of the person who owns it and controls it, and not in some sort of, demented way that we think we have, that we're in control of our bodies and our minds. We're not even in the material level. The demigods control everything. And even if you don't take it from a more pious perspective, material nature controls our bodies. So, there's no question of real purity of understanding nor of action without engaging in Krishna's service, because Krishna owns the senses, Krishna controls the senses, and the senses are the purpose of the senses are to serve Krishna. So there's so much to say in this purport. It's one of these comprehensive purports that I like also. I think I'll let it go and let somebody else say something.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Is there something you'd like to say on this?
Well, just what you've already said, Duri Bhutanya Darshana. It's Duri Anya Darshana means seeing something else, something other than Krishna. And Duri Bhuta, that something else is far away. It just stays at a distance from everything other than Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada glosses that, what is that? Stavra Jangama Deki Nadeki Karnita, Caitanya-caritamrta. That whatever one sees, the pure devotee sees, he doesn't exactly see that thing, whether standing or moving. He sees Ishtadeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because of love for Krishna, he sees Krishna everywhere.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Saraswati Mata has a question here. She says, Pranams, I'm not sure what it means to become transcendental to deep sleep consciousness, because that's not exactly under one's full control. When you're awake, you have some control, but not in deep sleep. Maharaj, you're still muted, I think.
Yeah. But someplace it's explained that how do we even know there's such a thing as deep sleep? If you're in deep sleep, there's no thought. So how do you even know there's such a thing? And then the explanation is given that one is awake and one thinks that I was in deep sleep. So the Krishna conscious person identifies with pure Krishna consciousness, not with deep sleep or any other stage of consciousness, any other type of consciousness. He's always, Buddhi Avasthana, Vivrikta Buddhi Avasthana. He's not situated. Yeah, if anyone wants to buy some chai, let me know. I'll tell the guy here. But he identifies with Krishna consciousness, not with anything else.
Jai. Go ahead, Tulsi Priya. You have a hand up.
That was a mistake, sorry.
Oh, okay. Panchatattva Prabhu, did you want to recite your question, or can I?
Sure, I'll say it. I ask, is that freedom from the different stages of material consciousness due to being transcendental to the three modes of nature? It's kind of a concomitant effect of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, Sagunanda Samadhi says they're there, but he knows I have nothing to do with this. And similarly, these deep sleep and so on, they're there, but what does it have to do with me? It's not mine.
Thank you, Maharaj.
I just wanted to say a special, extra special thanks to Maharaj for giving class in the middle of a loud, crowded train in the middle of the night in India. Thank you so much. Tulsi Priya, go ahead.
Thanks for the class in the middle of this madness.
Hi, Maharaj. I was just thinking this whole, this bit about, deep sleep and sleeping reminds me of different pastimes I've read about Srila Prabhupada, where he would be apparently asleep and, somebody would move or do something and he'd wake up and he was aware of whatever was going on around him, and even if, whether he was apparently asleep or just had his eyes closed or was actually asleep, he wasn't, you don't hear about him, like if I go to sleep and wake up, I'll be groggy and I won't even know where I am for a few minutes maybe. But Prabhupada, he was resting, but he was aware, which is not something that everybody can do. It's not, I remember one time Satsvarup Maharaj told me, I don't remember, it was a letter or I think I wrote him a letter, something talking about the unconscious, and they talk about in psychology and Freud. And he said to me, unconscious means that of which we are not conscious. He said, when you become Krishna conscious, then there is no unconscious. You're conscious of, whatever you need to be conscious of. You're not driven by, ulterior motivations or anything like that. So, I mean, that's not exactly the same thing as deep sleep, but it seems quite odd for people to have, ulterior motivations and things going on in their minds that they themselves are not even aware of. So it seems that we can only benefit from cultivating our consciousness and becoming more and more aware, because we're seeing everything as Krishna, so we understand what everything is for.
Yes, thank you. And to underscore what you're saying on the topic of sleep and Srila Prabhupada, I was just reading how the devotees were traveling from Vishakhapatnam to Calcutta on train, and Shyamasundar Prabhu was in a compartment with Prabhupada, just the two of them. And he said Prabhupada was joking and listening to tapes and talking until about 10:30, and then he apparently lay down and closed his eyes. So Shyamasundar turned off the light. Around 12 o'clock, Shyamasundar hears, Shyamasundar, take dictation. So he turned on the light again, and he said, what followed was the most clear and lucid stream of thought I had ever heard in my life. So I can only conclude that when we think Prabhupada is sleeping, usually he's thinking about how to spread Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. And Panchatattva Prabhu, did you mean to send me a private message, or did you want to say that? Because it's...
Yeah, I'll just say briefly without going into it, because Maharaj will be embarrassed, but I have seen His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami display this same extraordinary quality. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Let's see.
So have we.
Yes. So, more comments or questions on text 10? Let's see. looking to see. Huh. I was just looking through Srila Vishwanath's purport. I'm not sure if he's speaking on 10 or 11. I haven't read that far ahead here. Panchatattva Prabhu, are you available and able to read text number 11?
Sure. Muktilingam sadabhasam asati pratipadyate satabandhum asatchakshu savanusyutam advayam. Translation. A liberated soul realizes the absolute personality of Godhead, who is transcendental and who is manifest as a reflection even in the false ego. He is the support of the material cause, and he enters into everything. He is absolute, one without a second, and he is the eyes of the illusory energy. Purport. A pure devotee can see the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in everything materially manifested. He is present there only as a reflection, but a pure devotee can realize that in the darkness of material illusion, the only light is the Supreme Lord, who is its support. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that the background of the material manifestation is Lord Krishna. And as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Krishna is the cause of all causes. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the Supreme Lord, by his partial or plenary expansion, is present not only within this universe and each and every universe, but in every atom, although he is one without a second. The word advayam, without a second, which is used in this verse, indicates that although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is represented in everything, including the atoms, he is not divided. His presence in everything is explained in the next verse. So we're being granted some insight into how a liberated soul or pure devotee sees the world. And it's an interesting first sentence. A liberated soul realizes the absolute personality of God, who is transcendental and who is manifest as a reflection even in the false ego. There's something specific about that I'm probably not at all competent to explain. But Prabhupada's going on to describe how the Krishna is present only as a reflection in everything materially manifested. But a pure devotee can realize that the only light in this dark place is the Supreme Person. My wife, Yoganananda, likes to make this comment about the sun, that if it weren't for the sun, which is Krishna's mercy, the material world would be completely dark, completely dark. There would be no light whatsoever. So this causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord lights our way and indeed gives life to all living things. Life would not be possible, light would not be possible, our senses would not work. It's all based on the fact that Krishna, through this mechanism, this vehicle of the sun, is giving light in this way. So I thought of that. Krishna is the cause of all causes. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha. Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karana. He's present everywhere. Andantarasta Pramano Chayantarasta. Of the universe. I think is within him, and he's within every atom. Now try to do the math on that. It's inconceivable. It's extraordinary, inconceivable potency. Therefore, we have to arrive at this wonderful philosophy given us by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, achintya bheda abheda tattva. It's not just simultaneous oneness and difference, but inconceivable simultaneous oneness and difference. And there's nice explanation of without a second, because we often hear this expression used throughout Srila Prabhupada's books. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one without a second. And here it's defined in this way. That Krishna, he expands himself he has his various expansions and Purusha avatars, Guna avatars, so forth. But at the same time, he's one. It's not that he has become divided because he's present in every atom. He's the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, one without a second. Again, inconceivable, but truth, absolute truth, one without a second. Hare Krishna.
Jai, Jai, Jai. Thank you so much. Davy's child has a question. In the translation, it says, he enters into everything, but isn't he already there from the beginning? In fact, it wouldn't come to being without him being there from the beginning.
Yes, it's one of those things where time sort of throws a monkey wrench at the thing. It's into everything, but as you point out, he's already there. So these things are stated in some way that we can understand them. So he enters into everything. But as you say, he's already within everything. Which sometimes he enters into means he activates things. We see that in universal form. He enters the various elements, and then they become active. So he's there, but then he becomes active.
Jai. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Tulsi Priya, you have a hand up?
Yes, riffing off of that a little bit, I wanted to ask, could we say too that, you know, as Devi's child Mataji said, or I'm assuming it's Mataji, I'm not sure, that he enters into everything, but if he is there from the beginning, not everything in the material world is manifest all the time, that, you know, to our vision. So when things manifest in the material world, of course, they're manifesting because of Krishna, so then he's entering into the material world. I don't know if that's the wrong way to look at it, but it's not like there's an apple and Krishna enters into an apple. The apple emerging into the material world is Krishna's energy. It's Krishna emerging into the material world. Does Maharaj agree or disagree, or is that too fanciful?
I'm not quite sure what's being said there, but Krishna is always everywhere, and at the same time, I think that's what you're getting at. He's manifesting his presence in this way or that way.
Yeah.
And down to it, he's within every atom. And yet he goes here and there.
I would like to ask a question of Maharaj, if it's all right.
Yeah.
This statement at the first sentence I mentioned, my curiosity about it, that the absolute personality of Godhead is manifest as a reflection even in the false ego. Can you expand on that, Maharaj? What does that specifically mean? Is there like a specific...
Oh, well, yeah, of course. I'm reminded of Yathabhasa Tamaha in the second canto. Krishna is reflected everywhere through his energies. His presence and everything materially manifests only as a reflection. When we see a tree, we usually don't see Sham Sundar, Krishna in his attractive threefold bending form. But we recognize that this tree is the material energy of Krishna. So in that sense, Krishna's reflected. These terms are a little, we have to sort of connect the dots or stretch our thinking a little bit to get the idea that Prabhupada's aiming at, because reflections have, they cast light and so on. So you don't necessarily have to pick it up literally. But sometimes, like Prabhupada uses the term, in fact, shadow reflection. A reflection is not a shadow, and a shadow can't be a reflection. But Prabhupada uses that term, a shadow reflection. So it means, faint or attenuated manifestation. Krishna is there, but we don't quite see Krishna. Like Prabhupada's usual example is the cloud. The cloud is nothing but the sun, and yet the cloud doesn't show the same bright qualities as the sun, and it even covers the sun from our vision. So the material energy is nothing but Krishna. At the same time, it acts differently from Krishna's transcendental form and qualities and so on. I hope that's okay. And the false ego, so even our false ego, which is like the sum total of ignorance, is a manifestation of Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Oh.
Thank you, Maharaj. Go ahead, Tulsi Priya.
Oh, I was just thinking about the idea of, a shadow reflection, and it reminded me of something I read long ago in the Bible. There's the expression we see. It can be either we see in a glass darkly or we see through a glass darkly, and some scholars say it's in a glass, meaning there's a reflection, but because it's not a clear reflection, it's on dark glass or whatever, we see a dark reflection. And so I'm also thinking of, like, when you go to the Carnival Fun House, you're standing in front of the warped mirrors, and that's you standing in front of the mirror, but what gets reflected back to you is a warped image, because the image, the reflective surface itself, which is, I presume, analogous to the mind, is warped. So either way, whether we look in a dark mirror and see a dark reflection, or we look in a warped mirror and see a warped reflection, it seems to all depend on the mind, and how pure it is.
Yeah. Saraswati Mata has a question. Is there a difference between Krishna's expansion and incarnation?
Yeah, technically, the avatar is a particular kind of expansion. Krishna expands himself in different ways. Like in the spiritual world is Narayan in different forms. But not all those Narayan forms are incarnations. The incarnations, avatars, are literally those who descend to the material world. Sometimes in some Gaudiya literature you see the translation given descents of the Lord, various descents of the Lord. So, Panchatattva Krishna, Bhakta Avatar, Advaita Acharya is singled out as an incarnation because he represents the form of the Lord who descends to the material. Purush avatars are the original avatars.
Okay. And Gurudas says, Maharaj, could shadow reflection refer to the false ego I want to say, refer to how the false ego manifests qualities, but falsely attributes those qualities to oneself rather than acknowledging they are coming from Krishna.
Let me just look at that again. Shadow reflection for the false ego. Manifest qualities. How the false ego. Yeah, I mean, it's all shadow reflection. The false ego is shadow reflection. And that's what it does. It falsely attributes material qualities to oneself. False ego. I don't think shadow reflection is restricted in that way. Anything that's a reflection but not a complete manifestation could be a shadow reflection, but false ego certainly, by which one attributes to oneself qualities that are not one's own. Yep. Hope that's okay.
So Gurda says, thank you, Maharaj. And just to clarify for Saraswati Mata, she says, I didn't hear clearly, but incarnations occur only in the material world and expansions only in the spiritual world?
Incarnations only in the material world, expansions everywhere. Everything's an expansion of Krishna. But the particular expansions that come to the material world are called avatars.
Yeah, I hope that's clear, Saraswati Mata. Pancha Tatra Prabhu says, I've always wondered about that term incarnation as applied to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, since the word means having taken on a material body. I guess it's used by Srila Prabhupada because it's a commonly recognized word already in use for the Supreme Personality of Godhead's appearances in this world.
I guess so. I think Rabindra Prabhu has commented on it sometimes. Really, anyone who's either steeped in Christian theology or knows Latin or whatever, look at it and say that the incarnation is divinity made flesh, and is incarnate. He's in a body made of flesh, which is exactly the Christian teaching, that God is divine, but he becomes a human being, essentially, in the form of Jesus. He takes on the attributes of flesh, and our theology looks at that differently and says Krishna never takes on a material body. So we use this term incarnation advisedly. We use it because Prabhupada uses it, and he uses it perhaps, as you say, because it's a commonly recognized word. But we also recognize the limitations of the word, the possible misunderstandings that the word might invite. So we use it, as Humpty Dumpty said, when I use a word, it means exactly what I want it to mean. So that's how Prabhupada uses incarnation. It means what we want it to mean. And that is how words are used. They mean something, but then they're appropriated for a particular purpose, and they mean what we want them to mean, like gay, any other technical terms or something. They take on the meaning that we invest in the word.
Jai Maharaj, thank you so much. It's 7:59. It's time for our closing kirtan. Tulsi Priya, did you have something quick, a comment or? Oh, there's millions of, okay, there's a lot of stuff that just popped up in the chat, so we'll have to end soon, but Gurudas says, Maharaj, you're coming to us serenely, as if no disturbance. but the sound around you sounds like the essence of absolute bedlam and chaos. Tulsi Priya? You're muted.
It's in the chat.
Oh, okay. She says, I think the Christians don't recognize that spirit can have substance that can be perceived with purified senses. That's, yeah. All right. So, all right, Krishna. So it's time for our closing kirtan. And Tulsi Priya, since you led the opening kirtan, would you like to nominate someone for the closing kirtan?
Oh, well, I haven't been around, so I don't know who's been leading, like, for instance, Ross Kemper Prabhu or someone else, but Panchatava Prabhu is always, old reliable. And Vijay Krishna Prabhu is here also.
But you have to insist if you want him to lead.
I absolutely insist that Vijay Krishna Prabhu leads Kirtan then.
I second that.
Well, if both of you insist,
All three
of course, with pleasure.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Can
Jai,
Premi do an prayers, please, Ekendra Prabhu?
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajacharya Ashtotara Sata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mayi Ki Jai Jamuna Mayi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Vijay Krishna Prabhu.
You're most welcome.
And thank you everyone for being here, especially Maharaj, traveling on a train, a noisy train in India. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.
Hari bol.
Hari Bol.
Bharat Bharat ki jai.
Krishna, Krishna. Hopefully everyone can join us tomorrow.
Jai.
Thank you again.
Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Jai Madhupati Prabhu.
Hari Bol.